Welcome to the Week 10 Sports Betting Picks video here at FTN Bets, otherwise known as Betting with Benny. Make sure to like and subscribe to the YouTube channel so that you're updated anytime we have a new video pop out. And for those of you watching on the Game Plus Network, welcome to the show. The first game we're going to talk about here is going to be the Thursday night football game between the Atlanta Falcons and the Carolina Panthers. I have Atlanta about a league average team here. I know they've been very good in the early going, but this was not a team that people were expecting to do much here this year, and they are starting to come back down to earth a little bit. Carolina is one of the teams I have towards the bottom of my power rankings. I think they might even be the bottom of my power ranking right now. I'd have to double check on that. I did move them up a little bit after a couple good games, but they slipped right back into what we expected them to be last week. It's really interesting with Carolina because PJ Walker actually got the hook in that game sometime in the second half. I think they brought in Baker Mayfield. Mayfield is going to be back, and Sam Darnold is also back. So interesting to see what Carolina does. Honestly, at this point, though, I'm not making any adjustments for any of these quarterbacks here on Carolina. I don't really think any of them are all that good or make that team all that much better here. This is a team that has been stripped of a lot of their weapons right now. They traded away Robbie Anderson. They traded away Christian McCaffrey. They lost Chuba Hubbard, so we'll have to see if he's going to be back here. Deonta Foreman did a good job filling in. DJ Moore's still a solid guy they got there. They do have some other weapons there. Terrence Marshall being a guy who caught a touchdown this week, somebody who could be back, could play a bigger role towards the end of the year for those of you in fantasy looking for some options. But on the betting side of this all, I mean, I got on a neutral field, I get Atlanta is better by about 4 points. When you factor in the home field advantage for Carolina here, I get the spread should be Atlanta -2. DraftKings and FanDuel has this at -2.5. Honestly, I probably don't hate that. I would actually rather lay the 2.5 before I did anything on the other side betting on Carolina. I just really don't think Carolina's a very good team. They played with good emotion for 2 games after everybody was traded and things were going there. But at the end of the day, this is not a very good team. I would rather be on the Atlanta side of this game. I'd rather lay the 2.5 points with them. But really, my number is kind of on the market. We have an interesting game on Sunday morning here, the first ever, I think, game that's going to be played, NFL game played on German soil. The Seattle Seahawks are going to be taking on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in that game. Seattle is 6-3 on the season. They're coming off a win over the Arizona Cardinals, 31-21 in their last game. Tampa Bay on the year is 4-5. They are also coming off a win over the Los Angeles Rams, 16-13. Funny enough, those were the only 2 games in the 4 o'clock window for Week 9. So interesting to see how that all works itself out. Let's see. When I break this all down, I get Tampa Bay. And now, again, there's no home field advantage here, even though they are considered the quote-unquote home team because the game is being played in Germany. So I didn't factor any home field advantage in here. So what I got was Tampa Bay minus 2.5. DraftKings has them at -1. FanDuel has them at -1.5. So I do think there is a little bit of value here on the Tampa Bay side. If you wanted to lay the -1 on DraftKings, that was the better of the 2 numbers at the open. I would probably be on that side. So I like Tampa Bay -1. Again, Tampa Bay, very good defense. The offense does just enough to win games as they did last week, getting that late touchdown there. It's kind of the way that they've played this year. So I don't expect Tampa Bay to blow out anybody. I have a lot of respect for the Seattle team too. I wouldn't be shocked if Seattle did wind up winning this game. But again, my numbers are pointing to Tampa Bay, and I do think we have a little value there. Next game up, the Minnesota Vikings taking on the Buffalo Bills. This is a very good football game here. Minnesota 7-1 on the year, coming off a win over the Washington Commanders, 20-17. Buffalo 6-2, coming off a loss to my New York Jets, 20-17 in that game as well. Again, Jets shocked the world in that one. I don't think anybody expected them to win. It was a double-digit spread. I think it went off at around 10 or 11 points there. So obviously they played really well at home and they pulled out a victory, so that's great. But, Buffalo is still the team that I have at the top of my power rankings here. I still think they're the best team in football. And I do have them favored here over Minnesota by a pretty decent margin. So on a neutral field, I get Buffalo's about 5 points better. Factor in home field advantage, I get it up to a full touchdown. So I have Buffalo -7. DraftKings and FanDuel opened this at 7.5, and I'm not going to lay 7.5. I'm not giving up the hook here. I'm pretty much on market. The hook is not enough to get me to the Minnesota side at 7.5, but it's also enough to keep me from betting on Buffalo at 7.5, which I think would have been the way that I would want to go. If this number was at -7, I would be interested in it. The way that I look at it here, though, is, I mean, again, if I have it at -7, the number's at -7.5. I think the best thing to do here is tease this game down to -1.5. You get the home team in Buffalo. You're teasing them through the 7. You're teasing them through the 3. You're getting it down to 1.5. Again, I know the Wong teaser legs haven't been paying off all that well this year, but this is one of those situations where you would want to put it. So straight up, I don't have anything, but I do like this as part of a teaser. Buffalo tease down to 1.5. Next game, the Detroit Lions taking on the Chicago Bears. Detroit is 2-6 on the year, coming off a big win over the Green Bay Packers, 15-9. Chicago also 3-6 on the year, coming off a loss to the Miami Dolphins, 35-32, in a game that I thought they played really well. I thought they really showed out well in that game there. Justin Fields has started playing very, very well. He had over 100 yards rushing, did not throw for a ton of yards, but he did throw for 3 touchdowns in that game. Again, this is the way that Chicago plays. You're not going to get the same type numbers out of Fields that you get out of all these other quarterbacks. But with that being said, I mean, listen, they they were in that game. They had every chance to stick around. They had a couple opportunities to go ahead and win it. And I thought they showed pretty well against a good Miami team there. When I break this game down, let's see, I get Chicago's better on a neutral field, factor in the home field advantage. I get Chicago -3. DraftKings has them at -2. FanDuel has it at -2.5. I think the -3 is a number that I would be willing to play. So I have no problem laying the -2 over on DraftKings. That is the lower of the two numbers. I think that's where the value is on this game. Like I said, I get a full field goal out of Chicago here, and Chicago has been playing pretty well. No disrespect to Detroit. I like the Lions. I think they're a team on the rise, but I do think that Chicago is better on both sides of the ball. So give me the Chicago Bears, lay the -2 with them. Like I said, my number's -3, so I think we got a little value there. Next game up, Jacksonville Jaguars, 3-6 on the year, coming off a win over the Las Vegas Raiders, 27-20 in Week 9. They're taking on the Kansas City Chiefs, who are currently playing on Sunday Night Football on the television in the background over here to my right. Let's see. It's about halftime right now. Kansas City down a couple points to Tennessee after coming out hot on fire. Tennessee came back there. I do expect Kansas City to win that game. Either way, they'll either be 5-3 if they lose, or they'll be 6-2 if they win. Kansas City's still one of the teams I have second, I think, in my power rankings. They're about a full touchdown better than the average NFL team. So I do think this is a pretty good spot here. I get Kansas City -12 is my number. I have them 10 points better, add in home field advantage, get it up to 12. The number on DraftKings, the number on FanDuel is only 9.5. So I do think taking or laying that 9.5 is a good thing to do there. DraftKings, better place to do it at 9.5 there. I also think you can tease this one down as well. Again, 9.5, you can tease it down to 3.5. I wouldn't mind doing that either. I really like the Kansas City Chiefs in this spot here. I just think they're a much better football team than the Jacksonville Jaguars. Next up, we have the Cleveland Browns taking on the Miami Dolphins. Cleveland is 3-5 on the year. They're coming off a bye last week. So coming off a bye, you got to give them a little bit of a bonus there. Usually about 2 points is what I add to somebody's side if they're coming off a bye. Miami is 6-3 on the year. They're coming off that win over Chicago that we mentioned a little bit earlier, 35-32. When I break this game down, I get, Miami about 1.5 points better on a neutral field. That is after factoring in the 2 points for for Cleveland coming off the bye. Otherwise, it would be more like 3 or 3.5. When you add in home field advantage, though, I do get that full -3.5. The number on DraftKings and FanDuel here is -4. So again, I'm probably a little bit below the market here, but not enough that it's going to push me to one side or another for a bet here. This is one of those games that I think I'm just going to be avoiding. I do think it will be a very good football game, though. Cleveland's defense looks a lot better now that they got some of their pieces back. Their offense, they definitely want to keep running the ball. They still got 2 or 3 weeks left before, they get back to Sean Watson, who we haven't seen play in over a year and a half. So be interested to see how that all works out at the end. Next game up, the Houston Texans taking on the New York Giants. Houston played on Thursday Night Football against the Philadelphia Eagles. They lost that game 29-17. They are 1-6-1 on the season. New York Giants 6-2 on the season, coming off a bye, so you got to give them a little bump here. But again, you gotta kind of factor those two things in. Normally, a team playing on Thursday Night Football with extra rest, I add about a point to their spread. A team that's coming off a bye, I add about 2 points to their spread. So those two things are going to kind of factor each other out. I give the Giants about 1 extra point than I normally would there over their number. So when we do that, I get Giants are, let's see, 6 points on a neutral field. So plus home field would be Giants -8. The number in the market on DraftKings and FanDuel is -6.5. So I do think there's value on the New York Giants side of this game. I would have no problem laying the -6.5 here. I think that number is a little bit too low. I also love the idea of teasing that down to 0.5 because I do not see the Giants losing to the Houston Texans in that game. So New York Giants, I like them straight up. I like them as part of a teaser. They're going to be a team that I have a lot of, a lot of different things going to this week. Next game to talk about, the New Orleans Saints taking on the Pittsburgh Steelers. New Orleans 3-5 on the year. They play on Monday Night Football against the Baltimore Ravens. So remember, you guys can get over to ftnbets.com. Check out the Discord. It's up in the top right-hand corner. If you're a subscriber, you get access to everything in the Discord. If you're not a subscriber, you just get access to a few things over there. But that is where any updates will be posted. So God forbid somebody gets injured in that game tomorrow. I don't know, Alvin Kamara, or maybe they do something with the quarterbacks. I mean, I guess you could say a wide receiver gets injured, but I think Chris Olave is about the only starting one they have left at this point. So, we'll see what happens there. And then again, if you want the updates, make sure you get over to ftnbets.com. You could actually go to ftnbets.com/free, and you can sign up for a free account. Use promo code Benny to get access to that free account. That's BENNY. It'll get you all the charts, all the graphs, all the projections. You guys can get a chance to look behind the paywall and see all the things that we offer every week to all our subscribers for football. So remember, ftnbets.com/free. Get you into that and use promo code Benny to make sure you get that free trial. On the Pittsburgh side, they are 2-6 coming off a bye as well. So I gave them a little bit of bump to their number. When I give them the bump to their number, I get New Orleans about 2.5 points better on a neutral field. Maybe it's actually more like 3 points better on a neutral field. So after you factor in home field advantage, I get New Orleans -1. DraftKings has them at 2.5. FanDuel has them at 3. I think taking the +3 with Pittsburgh is probably the way that I would go here. I think we got about 2 points of value off my number of New Orleans -1. So Pittsburgh +3, the way that I'm playing this game between New Orleans and Pittsburgh. That brings us to the last game we have here in the 1 o'clock window, which is going to be between the Denver Broncos and the Tennessee Titans. The Tennessee Titans currently playing the Sunday Night Football game against Kansas City and looking pretty good after a little bit of a shaky start here. We don't know what's going to happen with the quarterback situation. Malik Willis making his second start in that game. Ryan Tannehill's been out for those games. So again, we got to see exactly how that all works out. I'm not making a massive adjustment, but there is a little bit of an adjustment for Tannehill. If Tannehill is in there, probably add about 2 points to the Tennessee side. I did not factor this in with Tannehill being in there. So again, if you like this number with Malik Willis, you're probably going to like it even more if Tannehill does wind up playing in this game. As for Denver, they are coming off a bye. They're 3-5 on the year, so you got to give them a little bit of a boost for that. And when I break all the numbers down, after giving Denver the little bit of boost for coming in off the bye, I get, let's see, Tennessee should be favored by about 3.5 points in this game. And remember, that is 3.5 points with Willis. If it was with Tannehill, it would be 5.5 points. DraftKings has this at -2 right now. So I think there's some value there. I have no problem laying the -2 with Tennessee here because, again, even if it's Willis as quarterback, I still think that this number should be at least a field goal, if not more. And if it was Tannehill at quarterback, I would think this number should be closer to 5, maybe even -6. So, again, you're getting a lot of value here one way or another. So I really like the Tennessee Titans. Have no problem laying the -2 with them. And like I said, I don't even care who the quarterback is. So there you go. That's going to wrap it up for the 1 o'clock games. We're going to take a quick commercial break here and be right back to talk about the 4 o'clock games, the Sunday night game, and the Monday night game here on Betting with Benny. And welcome back to the Week 10 Sports Betting Picks video here at FTN Bets, otherwise known as Betting with Benny. We have 5 games left to talk about. 3 of them are in the 4 o'clock window. There was a Sunday night game and a Monday night game, and we do have 4 teams on bye this week. So let me check that real quick. One of them I know off the top of my head is my New York Jets are on bye this week. The New England Patriots, another team that's on bye this week. Baltimore Ravens, who play on Monday Night Football, they're going to be on bye this week. And the Cincinnati Bengals are the 4th team here. So we have 4 teams that are going to be on bye here this week. Cincinnati, New York Jets, New England, and the Baltimore Ravens. And that is why we only have 5 games left. So let's talk about that first 4 o'clock game that we have between the Indianapolis Colts and the Las Vegas Raiders. So let's see. Indianapolis 3-5-1 on the season, coming off a bad looking loss to the New England Patriots, 26-3. I don't understand why they decided to make this move to Ellinger from Matt Ryan. You could see just by the way that this team plays that Ellinger is not ready to be out there. He is not an NFL quarterback. We are not getting the running, the rushing yards and him using his legs that we thought we were going to get here. It's basically been a detriment to the team all around. It's hurt the wide receivers' chances out there. Again, Jonathan Taylor being hurt is obviously a big deal as well. The offensive line not playing that well. I just feel like there is a ton of holes in this team right now on the Indianapolis Colts, and they're not even putting their best foot forward out on the field. So again, is this team trying to tank? Are they trying to quiet tank where it's not like they're just completely giving up, but they're also not playing the guys that give them the best chance to win? That's the way that it looks like here to me. So you got to keep that in mind when you start breaking this game down. Let's see. The Las Vegas Raiders, they are 2-6 on the year. They're coming off a loss to the Jacksonville Jaguars. The Raiders are another team that are just not playing very well right now at the moment. When I break this down, I get the Raiders are about 3.5 points better on a neutral field. So you factor in the home field advantage. I get Las Vegas -5.5. DraftKings and FanDuel have it a little bit lower than I do at -4.5. So there is a little bit of value here on the Las Vegas Raiders side. But again, we talk about numbers in no man's land, right? Like if this was 2.5 and our number was 3.5, that's 1 point, but that's a very big 1 point because you're going from one side of the field goal to the other side of the field goal. If it was 6.5 to 7 or something like that, yeah, then maybe we have something to talk about. 4.5 to 5, though, is kind of the dead zone. So again, my number being 5.5, the book's having it at 4.5. Yeah, there's a point of value there, but that point's not worth as much as it is when it's 2.5 to 3.5 or 6.5 to 7.5. So it's not really something that I'm going to get on that side of. Again, the number's below 6, so I don't even want to tease it down because crossing the 0 is never something you want to do. So I do think there's a little bit of value on the Las Vegas Raiders here, but there's just not anything I really want to bet on. I mean, if you want to take them as part of a parlay where you take the money line with them, it's probably the best way to play it. But again, not really anything I'm going to be running out to get any money on here. But I do think there is value on the Las Vegas side. And if you're in one of those pick 'em pools, Las Vegas would be the way that I'd go. Next game up, the Dallas Cowboys taking on the Green Bay Packers. Dallas is coming off a bye, so I gave them a little bump for coming off that bye as well. Green Bay is at home, though, so obviously that little bump we give to Dallas is going to go away with the home field advantage. But again, on a neutral field, I have Dallas is about 6.5 points better anyway. Dallas is 6-2 on the year coming off that bye. Green Bay is 3-6 on the year coming off that loss to Detroit. They just did not look good. They may have lost Romeo Doubs in that game. I think one of their cornerbacks was also taken off on the cart. So, I mean, this is a team that hasn't looked good already this year, and now they're starting to lose some pieces that were actually out there on the field and playing some football for them and some decent football for them from time to time as well. So I just don't see anything that's going to turn around all that fast here for the Green Bay Packers. On a neutral field, I got Green Bay. I mean, I got Dallas being 6.5 points better. Factoring in home field advantage, I get Dallas -4.5. DraftKings and FanDuel actually did not have a number up for this game, but again, my number is 4.5, so we'll see how that comes out there. If the number's like 6 or so, it's probably too high. If it's 6.5 or 7, that would probably get me over to the Green Bay side of this game. And anything at like 3 or 3.5, if it was 3.5, probably going to be avoiding it with my number being 4.5. But if it's Dallas -3, that would be something I'd be looking to hammer. So we're going to have to see what it is when it comes out here. I do like the road favorite here in the Dallas Cowboys. I think their defense is just too good. I think their offense will do enough to get some points up on the board for them. And again, I just think Green Bay is an absolute mess right now, so I don't want to touch them at all. Let's see. Next game up, Arizona Cardinals taking on the Los Angeles Rams. These are the two teams that lost the 4 p.m. games on week 9 here. Arizona 3-6 right now, coming off that loss to the Seattle Seahawks. 31-21 was the score in that game. The Los Angeles Rams are 3-5. They're coming off that loss to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. 16-13 on the late touchdown in that one. Let's see. When I break this down, I get the Rams are about 1.5 better on a neutral field. Factor in home field, I get Rams -3.5. DraftKings and FanDuel at the open had this at Rams -4. So I think that number is a little bit too high. Really no value for me. Not high enough to get me onto the Arizona side, but it is it is a number that I'm not going to be willing to lay here with the Rams. Again, would I be shocked if Arizona beat them? No, not at all. But the Rams at home should wind up winning this game. I expect them to bounce back here. Again, they haven't been very good this year. Arizona has not looked really good this year. But at the end of the day, I do still have the Rams as a slightly better team in my power ranking. So I think they would be the way that I would want to go. So that brings us to the Sunday night football game, and that's going to be between the Los Angeles Chargers and the San Francisco 49ers. The Chargers are 5-3 on the season, coming off a win against Atlanta 20-17. It's a little tough for me to put a number here on them because they played last week without Keenan Allen. They played last week without Mike Williams. Mike Williams has only been out for a couple weeks. Keenan Allen's been out for a long time at this point. Came back, tried to play a little bit, wound up going back out. Josh Palmer had a really good game as the, I guess, quote unquote, number one wide receiver for the Los Angeles Chargers. But again, they do use tight ends and running backs. I mean, Austin Eckler, very good receiving back out of the backfield. They do have Gerald Everett at tight end, the guy who they threw a lot of passes to as well in that game. So, again, there are other things the Los Angeles Chargers can do here. San Francisco, they are 4-4. They're coming off a bye. They added Christian McCaffrey. We may see Deebo Samuel out there. Deebo and Christian McCaffrey on the field together for the same time so far this year. So that's something that I'm looking forward to seeing here. Did make a little bit of an adjustment to the San Francisco 49ers, although not much of an adjustment because I already had them pretty high up in my power rankings. I made an adjustment last week after the Christian McCaffrey trade. He looked really good there. I do make an adjustment for them with the bye week here. So when I break the numbers down on a neutral field, I get, let's see, San Francisco 4.5 points better. Home field advantage added in. I get San Francisco minus 6.5. FanDuel, DraftKings, both have it at minus 6.5 right there as well. So I guess we're on market. I wouldn't mind teasing this down to even money. Not even money, minus 0.5. Basically, just needing the San Francisco 49ers to win. I definitely wouldn't mind teasing it down if Keenan Allen and Mike Williams are not playing. I would make a little bit of an adjustment to them if one or both of those guys are playing, because those guys are a big upgrade over the guys they would be replacing. Guys like DeAndre Carter and Bandy, like those would be the guys that they would be replacing. So I would make a little bit of an upgrade there. But again, I am pretty much on market at 6.5, which is exactly what FanDuel and DraftKings opened this game up as. So that brings us to the Monday night football game, the Washington Commanders taking on the Philadelphia Eagles. The Commanders are 4-5 on the year, coming off a loss to Minnesota 20-17. Again, Minnesota is 7-1. 20-17 loss to Minnesota is not anything to be upset about. I like this Washington team better with Taylor Heineke under center. I actually made some adjustments to them to the point now where I have them ranked, I think, half a point higher than I had them ranked when Carson Wentz was their quarterback. And you know what? People can argue about that all they want. But if you watch this Washington Commanders team play, I think they even like playing for Taylor Heineke more than they like playing for Carson Wentz. As for the other side of this game, I mean, what can we say about Philly, right? They played on Thursday Night Football, so they get a little bit of a bump for that in my power ranking. So I gave them a +1 there. Let's see. They're 8-0 on the year. They're coming off that win against Houston, 29-17 on Thursday Night Football. Best team in the NFC, one of the best teams in all of football right now. Neutral field, I get them 9.5 points better. Add in home field advantage, I get them 11.5 points better. The number DraftKings and FanDuel has is 10.5 there. So I do think there's a little bit of value on Philly. I mean, you could tease Philly down to 4.5. I think that's probably the way I'd do it. If it was 10, I would be more willing to lay it than at 10.5. But listen, I mean, I think Philly wins this game. I think Philly wins this game big. So, that's kind of the way I'm going. 10.5, though, again, it's a lot of points, right? Like, laying double-digit points in an NFL football game is not something you really want to do all that often. It's one thing if it was 10 and I thought it should be 14. But, again, if I think it should be 11.5 and it's 10.5, the 1 point doesn't mean as much when it's that big of a number. So, honestly, I'm probably on market here. Not going to be really messing with this game. So there you go. That's going to wrap it up for our first look at the opening lines from DraftKings and FanDuel here on Betting with Benny. Remember, you can get over to ftnbets.com. Use that promo code Benny, BENNY. Save 20% off. Works on FTN Daily, works on FTN Fantasy as well. And if you want to get a free trial to check out and see what kind of things are behind the paywall, before you go ahead and sign up, you go to ftnbets.com/free, ftndaily.com/free, or ftnfantasy.com/free. You use that promo code Benny when you sign up over there, and you'll get a free trial for a couple days to check everything out, kick the tires, see all the stuff that we offer, and hopefully become one of our subscribers and have some fun with us. And make sure you go up to that chat button in the top right-hand corner to get into the Discord as well. That's where a lot of the action is. So for my producer, the man, the myth, the legend, known as Deqwan Young of Quantity Media, this is Benny Ricciardi signing off for FTN Bets, Betting with Benny, with the Week 10 Sports Betting Picks video. Good luck this week, everybody.